Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guests. I should have Brett Eichenberger. Hopefully, maybe we'll have Tobe Johnson. I think for about just an hour tonight. They are the filmmakers behind Flash of Beauty. Bigfoot Revealed is their first film. The second is Paranormal Bigfoot. Really love this documentary, guys. Truly enjoyed this documentary. I watched it today. I can't recommend it more, honestly. I've watched a lot of Bigfoot documentaries over my years, and this one is definitely up there in my top favorite documentaries because it really gets into people's experiences of the strange and unusual aspects of Bigfoot, beyond that it's just some cryptic creature we haven't identified yet, that there's these events that happen, experiences that people have that go way beyond that. And it's something we've talked about a lot on this show, and I'm really excited to have these guests. Hopefully have them both tonight, and I'm right now in the middle of making sure one of them has the video call link, because I sent it, but they didn't get the first email, so sending it again, make sure they got that. And then, of course, a lot of weird to get to in the World Wide Web of Weird, and we will open up the phone lines later in the show. It'll probably be a shorter show tonight if we don't have the guests for more than an hour, so we'll probably end earlier, but we will open up the lines, talk a little bit later tonight. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, hopefully Brett Eichenberger is going to be joining us. I got to double check this. I'm kind of in the middle of doing this at the beginning of the show because I'm getting from the publicist that he didn't get the link, but I'm sending it to her. and I want to make sure I have their email. So I'm kind of taking care of some stuff here at the beginning of the show. But I will, of course, bring on my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to get this StreamYard link out to make sure the guest has it. I have to do some copying here. But, we talk a lot about paranormal Bigfoot on this show, and we're definitely probably more along the lines of people who believe he's paranormal, not just some cryptic creature. That's your sense of feeling on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we can all say we're in that camp here for sure. Journey from St. Augustine, Florida, home of the skunk ape, around that area at least, is Rob Autry himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
It's that putrid-smelling ape.
The putrid-smelling ape. Sounds like a lot of them are. I do see our guest in the waiting room. Hello, Brett. I see you in the waiting room. We're going to get there. You know what? Let's just bring him on and make sure we got it, because we didn't have him for sound check. And this is our guest tonight. Brett, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't find the link, Jason.
No, that's all right. It's all right. I'm just glad you're here. We do a news segment at the beginning called the World Wide Web of Weird. You're welcome to join in on this. I do have a couple Bigfoot stories. Welcome to comment and jump in at any time. And then we'll have a commercial break, and then we're going to get started with your interview, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, guys.
Can't be there tonight. He's actually out squatching, and he can't get a good enough signal. It just keeps coming.
Not out there. No way. No way.
Yeah.
Hey, he can try. If he wants to try, just to call in and say hi from the field, I'll take it. Paranormal happens live here. Who knows? He can try.
Okay.
He can try. He's welcome to try. It'll probably go really badly, but hey, it's worth the risk.
I'll send him your numbers, and I'll tell him to call in, and maybe we'll get some
Who knows? Maybe Bigfoot will show up while he's there. Who knows? You never know. All right, guys, we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, continuing story. We covered this last Sunday about the Red Rock amphitheater sighting. About 12 workers there spotted a massive UFO, 3 stories tall, they said, disc-shaped. They could see the windows. And we didn't have much more confirmation on this except for one witness coming forward and saying this. Now more has come forward. We have an update and more information on this massive sighting. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network on the Talkstream Live Radio Paranormal app, we are a webcast streaming out live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you want to watch, it's great. We do have some videos. Do we have videos tonight? I don't know if we have videos tonight, but we might have some photos. We have some stuff. Some stuff. But I'll narrate as best as possible. All right, Rob's got the share screen up here. All right, so from Coast to Coast AM here, Red Rock amphitheater worker who reported a mass UFO sighting has come forward with additional details regarding the remarkable event. News of the curious case, which took place in early June, went viral over the weekend after Colorado media outlet first unearthed the account sent to the National UFO Reporting Center hours after the incident unfolded. The anonymous submission revealed how a dozen workers observed a massive disc-shaped metallic craft that appeared in the sky about a mile away from the Colorado concert venue. With the report gaining widespread attention, one hoped that the source of the story would reveal their identity and share more information about such a sighting, and as such luck would have, just such a scenario has occurred. Michael Lehman confirmed to Denver Gazette that he was the Red Rock worker who contacted NUFORC about the sighting. He explained that the incident happened while the workers were breaking down the equipment following a June 5th concert by the band All Time Low. According to Lehman, they were able to observe the object because there was very little moonlight that evening. That said, he also noted that the dark color of the anomaly blended in with the sky pretty well. Easily the most tantalizing detail shared by Lehman, who described himself as a hopeful skeptic, was that one of the workers shined a flashlight on the sizable disc, which led to the UFO vanishing in a manner that he likened to something activating a cloaking device. Brett, I can't wait to talk about cloaking devices tonight and Bigfoot. just later on. Teaser. As for why nobody in the group thought to take a picture of the odd object, he attributed this to the brevity of the sighting, which only lasted 30 seconds. And that was the question we had. Why didn't we get a picture of this? And I said it probably happened very quickly. So it's only 30 seconds, and that everyone was instantly busy tending to the concert equipment when the anomaly first appeared. Lehman also revealed that the incident continues to be talk of the team of workers at Red Rock, I bet. Though as of now, he is the only witness from the group to come forward to share the wild story. It remains to be seen whether he will be joined by any others or if the case will simply fade away like the object mystified group that night. So continuing story, maybe more people come out. I believe him. It sounds very believable. And like I said last Sunday, why they probably didn't have any pictures, it was very quick. They're doing a job, and, these things happen. And they were all probably a little bit shocked. So very interesting story. Continuing on, if I get any more information, we'll conclude it in a following show. All right, more up. You remember, I think we covered the whole, or maybe they did, you guys did on Weird Wednesday, Jamie and Rob, the guys that defaced Stonehenge, with the for the environment. Well, I think the aliens are upset. I have a theory that the aliens are upset because now they just dropped a crop circle. Yeah, right by Stonehenge. Yeah. They got another Coast to Coast Tim Binnell article. Rather strange starfish crop formation was recently found just a few hundred feet away from the famed Stonehenge monument. The wondrous design showcased, and we have pictures here, in the drone video above, was reportedly discovered on June 30th across the street from Stonehenge Visitor Center in the community of Salisbury. Unlike a classic crop circle, this curious formation consists of 5 equally distributed tentacles comprised of alternating half circles and emanating outward from a central point similar to a starfish. As for how the crop circle is being interpreted by the fans of the mysterious phenomenon, some have likened it to the alien language from the film Arrival, while others have suggested it's a warning about a fiery star heading in the direction of Earth. Of course, in the instance of the location of the formation is intriguing as the design itself, one can only wonder if there's some kind of Stonehenge connection between the conveyed of its creators. I wonder if there's a connection between the people who went up there with like a-holes with orange spray paint and spray painted Stonehenge. This is the aliens' response. I don't know what it would mean. I don't know. But I find it curious this happened, a week or two after that. I don't know. Well, we can move on.
It's like
I wish I could show the video.
Inflatable arm guy.
What are you going to say?
Wacky waveable inflatable arm guy.
I don't know. I don't know. It's too bad the aliens didn't give them the alien with the finger, You remember the really good-looking one with somebody crop circled and looked like a gray alien is giving the finger to the environmentalist. Don't touch our Stonehenge. All right, that's next up. Crazy stuff with crop circles. Here in the U.S., we're getting crazy sinkholes. I wish I could show the video of this, but it's copyrighted from the news. But the video of this is pretty crazy when you see that they actually caught it on CCTV security camera footage of this sinkhole as it actually formed. And I mean, it's crazy.
A lady just fell through one too.
Well, we covered years ago about the guy who fell through and they never found his body. Remember that?
This chick was swam out, yeah.
Terrifying incident which took place at Alton's Gordon Moore Park in southern Illinois saw a huge hole approximately 100 feet across suddenly open up in the middle of the pitch without warning. Within seconds, an entire light pole, along with benches and a fair amount of artificial turf, had been disappeared in the hole, which was estimated to be about 50 feet deep. Fortunately, the sinkhole had opened up at a time when nobody was on the pitch. Imagine if there were players out there. Oh, my God. It's thought that the sinkhole was caused by subsidence from nearby underground limestone mining. And if I've been through Illinois, I'm right next to it. You'll see the limestone quarries and stuff that they have there. You imagine what that could do. I don't know about how does it cause a sinkhole all the way here from the water flow. I don't know. Geologists would know, but that's crazy. Such an incident can prove fatal, as evidenced by the case of Jeff Bush, who in 2013 had been sleeping in his bed when a sinkhole opened up beneath his house, swallowing him up. Despite an extensive search and rescue efforts, no trace of his body was ever found. So that was before we started doing the show, but I think I covered something similar to that once about a sinkhole and then never finding the body. I don't know what it is about sinkholes. They scare the crap out of me.
Oh, yeah. I think the ground's really saturated. What's that?
So we got plenty of them here in Florida.
Well, here in Indiana, we have the dunes where I'm at, and there's old 1800s, 1900s houses that got swallowed up by the dunes, and then that house slowly just disintegrates under the sand and decomposes the wood and everything, and it leaves a cavity. And we've had, it was years ago, a kid, and this has happened before, fell through into that like quicksand almost down in. They got lucky. It's a miracle they saved this kid. You know, they don't let you go up hiking up on the dunes anymore because there's just so much of that now. I mean, even just a lot of wood debris under the dune that could have got in there could cause a cavity and cause it. All right, we'll move on. Nothing paranormal about that, but I thought sinkholes scared the crap out of me. I don't know. Have you ever seen The Gate? Remember it's from the 80s where there's a big hole? No. All right. This next up, haunted Titanic exhibit floods in alleged haunted museum. I have the article from Unexplained Mysteries. Titanic exhibit at a museum near Chicago was inexplicably flooded, and nobody can figure out how. The Volo Museum, which already has a reputation for being haunted, made local news headlines recently when a CCTV footage was released showing a significant amount of water suddenly flood its Titanic exhibit late in the evening when nobody was around. Now, I don't have the video. This is a picture from the video, but you can see where the flooding happens. Again, it's part of this channel. I can't show, but if you go to Unexplained Mysteries, I have a link to this video. You see, it's just CCTV footage, but you see this water just slowly creeping in. Particularly strange was the fact that museum officials were unable to find any explanation for the flooding despite their best efforts to locate the source of water. Now, I'm a pretty good expert on flooding. If people have been watching this show for 8 years, no, 9 years. How many times my basement flooded and stopped the show from going on and the stuff. I'm pretty good expert on flooding. You know, you find out where it comes from. There's a way. You find out where that water comes from. I'm not a huge ghost guy. This is a comment from one of the people here. But when all this happens, I mean, we're looking, but there's no cracks, there's no holes. And museum director Jim Wachula told News Today. There are no broken pipes. The ceiling is fine. Everything around the building is totally fine. The museum is certainly no stranger to unusual occurrences, having been home to numerous accounts of paranormal phenomena, sightings of shadow figures, and other weirdness. So could the water be paranormal in nature, or is there a more conventional explanation? I would have to side with there's more conventional explanation, but I don't know. I'd have to check it out. There's easy ways to figure out how you're getting water, and if they can't figure it out, that is strange. Trust me, I bring me into this, because I am an expert at figuring out where the water's coming from in my basement. I am an expert, certified.
To figure it out?
Yeah.
I don't know. Extra income.
There is, watch the video. It's just water coming in, but there's a creepy feeling to it. Yeah, you know, I mean, could this be a manifestation? They have objects in here that were from the Titanic.
Doesn't it say at the end of the article too that, and it could be just a publicity stunt?
And it could be. It could be. That's always the case in this field. Yeah. I don't know. But, you know, it could be an expensive one when you talk about water. Yeah. There's a lot of easier publicity stunts they could do. Trust me, water damage is no fun. Cleaning up that mess is no fun. Especially when you got all these antiques and stuff in there. That was not fun. All right, let's move on.
Hopefully it's poltergeist water and it just cleans itself up.
Yeah, see, a lot of that's paranormal stuff. It just disappears later. That's great, right? All right, now we're on to some Bigfoot stuff. All right, Pennsylvania communities from Coast to Coast, Tim Binnell, the original article here. But I'm going to read Tim Binnell's one. It's a little bit shorter. A Pennsylvania community in the heart of what is believed to be the state's proverbial Sasquatch country is considering a variety of ways to celebrate the creature in the hopes of drawing tourists to the town. According to a local media report, the bold Bigfoot embrace is being bandied about by the officials in the borough of Derry, which borders Chestnut Ridge, where a series of notable cryptids and UFO sightings famously occurred back in the 1970s. Now the community hopes to take advantage of the location's notoriety in paranormal circles by fashioning itself into the gateway to the Pennsylvania's realm of high strangeness. Spearheading the movement is the council president, Barbara Phillips, who came up with the idea during a trip to Indiana. Hey! Where she saw numerous ads featuring legendary creatures said to lurk in the area. They don't say which one, but it has to be the big turtle. I can't think of the name. That's one of the biggest legends we have here in Indiana. I can't think of the name of the turtle. Realizing, and what town it is. Realizing that we need... What is it?
Yertle the turtle.
Yertle, no. Realizing that we need something similar, she subsequently pitched the possibility of Derry becoming a paranormal tourist destination to the fellow board members, Nathan Bundy, who enthusiastically agreed that Derry Bigfoot Committee was formed shortly thereafter, advising the group on their nascent idea are Pennsylvania's paranormal researcher and former CTCU guest Dan Gordon and Eric Altman. Whatever. It goes on. But you're going to see more of this. I come from the day, Brett, I don't know, you remember, I mean, how long you've been doing this when it comes to Bigfoot, where councilmen would run for the hills for forever coming up with an idea like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Now, hey, we could get tours.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's happening all over the country. It's happening here in Oregon, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
We covered a story. I don't know if you saw this one, Brett, of the, where was this at? I do so many every Sunday that I forget where places are at, but there was a one where there was a tourist train ride and there was a Bigfoot museum there. And they see a Bigfoot out in the field while the trains go by. Have you seen?
I think it was Colorado, Silverton, Colorado. Yeah.
And the question is, that looks like the suit the guy has at his Bigfoot museum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I love that this happens. Like, hey, we can get tourists. But my fear is, what will people do that have enterprising businesses involved that could be nefarious, that could put bad light on a subject we all care about a lot. That's when there's monetary motives, when I'm like, oh boy, what shenanigans are going to happen next?
Yeah, that tends to tick off a lot of us Bigfoot researchers and folks and stuff. He may have gotten business. I mean, they got a ton of exposure if it was fake. You know, there were certain things about it that were really interesting. Like whoever,
I thought so too.
Whoever wore the suit, if they wore a suit, if it was a person, did their research. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, it was when I first saw that video, I was very interested. And then it kind of got, when you see the pictures of the museum and the suit that they have there, you're like,
it's
I don't know. It's a little suspect. And that's so sad.
There's a lot of suspect things in the
it
Patterson
is.
Gimlin was, Patterson was out looking for Bigfoot, and
I know,
25 feet away from him.
Yeah, but it always it's a sad bit of coincidence with that. Yeah, but I still think that the footage itself holds up. 100%. We could talk more about that. But all right, one more. We got a couple more stories. There's another Bigfoot story. This one you might be interested in hearing if you haven't yet. I got it from Unexplained Mysteries here. Original article we're posting here, but I'm going to read the shorter one from Unexplained Mysteries. Campers call cops after seeing 5-foot creature with glowing eyes. Something strange is lurking in the remote woodlands of Louisiana. This is at least according to a recent report posted on the Facebook by the Natchez Parish Sheriff's Office. I totally butchered that. The incident, which was reported around 9:20 p.m. on June 28th, saw deputies attend the scene of a 911 call from a group of high school graduates who claimed to have had an encounter with some sort of glowing creature with a creature that was 5 foot tall and had glowing eyes. Deputies arrived on the scene and began to walk towards the campsite looking for anything suspicious, any suspicious activities or glowing eyes or drugs. They were looking. All right, guys, where's the reefer?
Yeah.
Deputies then heard this group, the group's whistle, and located them unharmed. Sorry, not unarmed. Deputies arrived at the campsite and successfully escorted the group out of the forest. Deputies reported the deposition as unable to locate any suspicious activity involving a growl with glowing eyes or standing 5 feet tall. So what did the group encounter in the woods that evening? In all likelihood, either they encountered a bear or they had ingested a bit too much alcohol. See, that's what they're going to put it off to because they were teenagers. Poor kids. Just because they're teenagers out in the woods doesn't mean they're doing drugs and alcohol. Drugs are bad. Okay? No, doesn't mean that. I know we're all teenagers, probably so all of our minds go there. It probably does. Probably. But I still find this fascinating. This is my point, though. If they're out there, none of them are going to want to call the cops. Okay? None of them are going to want to call the cops if they're all out there doing that. Do you get my point on this? So if they called the cops, they were scared poopless.
Yeah.
Okay? None of those teenagers, remember, they were escorted out of the forest. These kids were probably afraid to move. They don't call the cops when they're out in the forest just because they want to pull a prank. I'm just telling you, that is not the motive, the way these kids were. I've been there, I know. You're not going to call the cops unless you feel your life is threatened. So, drugs, alcohol, maybe, I don't know. Again,
I've seen the glowing eyes.
That's why I thought this was interesting for tonight. I can't wait to talk about your documentary. Honestly, I watched it today. I'm huge fan. I can't recommend this movie enough to people tonight. I won't. It's so good. We got one more story here. Oh, so we're going to argue about Bigfoot till end of time probably before we ever find any proof. I think we will. I don't know. But then again, here we are. We're still arguing if the Earth is flat or round. New show, and we're going to make TV out of it. Yay, because nobody has any original ideas. New show tasks conspiracy theorists with proving that the Earth is flat. Those who believe that the Earth is flat, despite overwhelming and controvertible evidence to the contrary, will soon be given a chance to put forward their case to a panel of experts, thanks to a new reality show coming later this year to new streaming service, The Network, entitled Flat Earthers. Wow, original, great title. The show, which is described as part of a docuseries and part of a competition, will give 4 families $50,000 of resources that they can use to attempt to prove the Earth is flat. If they can convince the majority of panel of scientists, theologians, and cartographers that their beliefs are correct, they will win an undisclosed cash prize. Given how unlikely that anyone will actually win, however, the amount will probably be irrelevant anyways. From the press release, it seems that the show is more about highlighting the increasing number of Americans who believe that the Earth is flat than it is about taking the idea too seriously itself. As we continue to deliver audience-free premium content, we are excited to announce this daring and genre-breaking docuseries, said the network creator Aram Report. The Flat Earth phenomenon continues to grow on a global level. Flat Earthers will provide a fascinating view into the psyche of human condition and what drives belief systems worldwide. You know what drives the flat Earth theory is because we've had too much crap filled in our universities, our media, and too many people blatantly lie to our face. So it leaves us open to anything's possible. And I don't blame people for believing the Earth could be flat, even though there's a lot of evidence out there that it's not. But I don't blame people because you have definite reason to distrust your media, your education, universities, everything that you've seen and have in life. There's been plenty of lying to go all around. I have history to back me up on that. What are you going to say, Jamie?
NASA.
I mean, everything. I mean,
never a straight answer.
We never straight answer on anything. I mean, NASA, yeah, that's a beautiful point, you know. I mean, NASA's done enough lying and photo airbrushing on the moon. I believe the Earth is round. I believe we went to the moon. But I also believe we went to the moon and found aliens and they told us never to go back. And then we faked a bunch.
They're like, it's the clearest, best photo ever of blah, blah, blah. It's 300,000 overlays of a photo, overlaying 3,000 other times over another photo.
But this is this point. They can make a bunch of shows about people and conspiracy theories and all this stuff because more and more people, the reason this stuff is growing, don't trust their government, their news. They don't trust it anymore for good damn reason. They've done enough to prove to us that we shouldn't trust them. So now you're going to get all these crazy things. I'm just saying, that's it. That's the reason. All right, that's our end of the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is Brett Eichenberger. Am I saying that right, Brett? Is it Eichenberger?
You got it, yeah. Totally.
Okay. Brett Eichenberger from the film Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. And I just watched Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot this morning. Like I said, Brett, yeah, you did a very much a service to this field and the Bigfoot with this documentary, and I can't wait to talk about that. We probably only have you for about an hour, I think we said, before the show. So we got it for about an hour, guys. We'll open phone lines. Probably a shorter show tonight. But let's get to our commercial break so we come back with our guest, Brett Eichenberger, Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, after the short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. The true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Brett Eichenberger. Brett is an award-winning filmmaker with over 25 years of experience working in the film and video production industry. His work includes the feature films Light of Mine and Pretty Broken, commercials, short films, music videos, and documentary shorts. Filmmaking has taken Brett around the world, but he feels most at home in the outdoors of the Pacific Northwest. As a native Oregonian, Brett has been intrigued by Bigfoot since his childhood years, and this documentary he's given the opportunity to explore this topic in depth. I just watched it, is Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot, or Paranormal Bigfoot. I haven't seen the first one. I'm going to have to, Bigfoot Revealed, but I watched this one this morning, and I've said already a billion times now, I can't recommend this more. I mean, this is a needed documentary to cover these experiences that are so much prevailed through the Bigfoot community. A lot of arguments over this. Is Bigfoot just a cryptid creature? Or is he paranormal, extra-dimensional, coming out of UFOs? There's so many crazy experiences. I mean, people look at it as crazy, but it's not. But people have had that go way beyond it just citing some cryptid creature. Mind speak, they talk about in this film. Bigfoot turning into orbs and flying away. Bigfoot cloak like Predator. There is a great clip in this film we're definitely going to talk about tonight where it's just like Get Out of Predator. You see this Bigfoot looking like the Predator in the cloak on video. It's crazy. There's so much to get into. Sadly, Tobe Johnson, another partner in this film, isn't joining us tonight. He sounds like he's out in the field. Maybe we'll get a call in from him live, hunting for Bigfoot. I don't know. We only got Brett for an hour, so let's go ahead and get to the show. Thank you for joining us tonight. Brett, it's an honor to have you on the show. Like I said, I watched the film this morning, and this is the film that's been needed. Honestly, I've had a couple other people get into this realm, a guest on the show, and another that actually did a docuseries I think was pretty good. But this really focused on these experiences people have that go outside the normal realm of what people consider a cryptid Bigfoot experience. That I mean, the first guest I ever had on to talk about their Bigfoot experience was a Connie Willis from Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm.
She never saw one, but she felt it in her mind, and she felt it push the side of the trailer she was on and make contact. To me, that's just a valid experience as anybody else's. But a lot of people probably don't talk about these things because it seems like you mentioned the movie, woohoo, like it's, nobody's going to believe them. It's hard enough to believe that there's a cryptid Bigfoot we haven't ever discovered out there, let alone that they're mind speaking to you or disappearing. So there's been over the years a harder, people are getting more open to this. But I think this is why this film is so important, because like this show, we like to have people on to talk about their experiences. We have phone lines, people call in about their experiences, that we have to be open in these conversations and talk about everything that happens in these experiences to really start getting an idea of what's going on.
Yeah. Jason, you brought up some great points there. I mean, the whole thing, frankly, sounds absurd. If you take a step back outside of the realm of the paranormal and the realm of Bigfoot, it just sounds crazy that there's something out there that's, some people are reporting are up to 12 to 14 feet tall. I mean, it's insane. And it can do these magic things. You know what I mean? It's easy. If you're not familiar with any of this stuff, it's easy to dismiss as a myth. But it's gotten to the point right now where, I said this to somebody else yesterday. I said, it's to the point right now where it's nearly impossible to prove that they don't exist, because there is physical evidence. There is video and photo evidence. There are reputable people in our society that have seen these things and have seen these things do these crazy cloaking things, these orb things. We have a woman who watched one walk into a tree in a city park just outside of Los Angeles, California. She literally in the broad daylight watched it walk into a tree. Wow. And that's not the first person. This is not an uncommon sighting. People see these things walk into trees and out of trees, and shapeshift, like we talk about in our documentary. And, we've got some things in our documentary that are just completely like sci-fi. So, we felt like it was important for us to really try and get into the science of this, so we can ground a little bit of this in reality, at least as much as possible.
Well, I love that you have the Native American elder. They're talking about how when you get down to it, the science can't grasp it.
Yeah.
That this goes beyond that. This is, that these creatures are beyond something like that. They live they're in another frame of reference and perception than us, which I found really fascinating. We do have the trailer. Hey, Rob, I do have the trailer downloaded in Dropbox. Do you want us to play the trailer for the movie so people can get an idea what we're going to be talking about here tonight?
I would love to. That'd be great.
Can you pull that up, Rob? It'll be under Flash of Beauty in the Dropbox. Because I really want people to see this movie. It's on Amazon Prime. I rented it this morning. It's totally worth the $3.50 to rent, or $4, whatever it is. It's totally worth it. If you are anybody interested in the subjects we talk about on this show, beyond just even if you're not a big Bigfoot enthusiast, I highly recommend this because these are all pieces of the puzzle, in my opinion. There's a reason why I call the show Paranormal Soup.
Yeah.
Because I believe all these things are connected when it comes to the ghost, Bigfoot, and UFOs. You know, there's a connection here, a universal law of physics that we have not covered. You know, the unexplained part that we don't know that connects all these, explains all these phenomena in a sense. All right, I think Rob's got the trailer. Let me get that up here and pull it full screen. All right, go ahead, Rob. Hopefully you got the audio. Yeah, you do.
There's things that I won't tell you, that I can't tell you. All I can tell you right now is, and I'll look you right in the eye, I'll tell you, whatever goes on in these woods, don't take it for what you can see. Because there's a lot more to what you can't see. Bigfoot, shape-shifted, folks.
It's not just that Sasquatch exists, it's that Sasquatch can do this and this and this.
We had the hair tested by a vet. It came back as an unknown hair type. Then I turned to Daryl and I said, listen, it could get really weird now.
It was able to do things that you couldn't even imagine.
What are the chances of us seeing something like that? 1 billion to 1? 2 billion to 1? Why us?
I think if you can base some of this in science, it allows us to have the grasp of what's going on. Coherent matter can work in ways that ordinary matter can't because it's based on quantum principles. So it can easily go into cloaked mode.
And the words repeated, why are you carrying a gun? And the second time it went through my head, I knew they're talking to me.
It's not about the one encounter. It's about the thousands of encounters, exact same type of characteristics that tell the story. You cannot deny it. And that's why you have to acknowledge the paranormal aspect.
What did I just see here? Oh my goodness.
And what that guy's reacting to there in that film is incredible. Is just purely incredible, which is the camouflaged predator-looking creature in the woods.
Yeah, Jason, are you familiar with Eric Bard? That's who that is.
Yeah, I've seen him before. Yes,
he's for those out there that don't know who Eric Bard is. He's the chief scientist at Skinwalker Ranch, and
right because I watched the show. Yeah, that's where I've seen him. Yeah.
And Eric, is a brilliant guy. What's funny about that interview is Eric said, he had they were in the middle of filming the TV show, and I pulled him aside. We were at a convention. I pulled him aside and I said, Eric, I've got something I need to show you. And people do this to him all the time. He says, look,
I'm sure. Yeah.
He says, I've got 15 minutes. And I said, I want to get you on camera. And he said, that's fine. And he had 3 hours of sleep. They're in the middle of taping the show. He's got to get back to the ranch. It's a 30-minute drive and it's already 9:00 at night. Right. So he's just leave me alone, dude. Show me what you got. And then I'm out. Right. So we sit him down in this chair. It's just Jill, the producer, and myself, and I show him that piece on my iPad, and we were still talking 3 hours later.
I knew it. I knew it. You can tell his reactions. He's excited. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. He's really blown away by this footage. I was. Totally. I was.
He's on a paranormal show, but that's not his frame of mind. His frame of mind is 100% pure science.
Yeah.
And he had a really, really difficult time explaining what he saw. In fact, he couldn't explain what he saw. And what was interesting was he had never seen Bigfoot as anything other than some goofy myth, something that you put on coffee mugs, T-shirts, and bumper stickers, right? Which so many Americans think that's, it's just some sort of icon of the outdoors. And that night, Eric changed. He changed tremendously because he's going, wait a minute, there is a connection between what I'm researching and Bigfoot, and if they can do this, then they're connected to the things that we're observing on Skinwalker Ranch.
I agree. There's a big connection there. I've made this. It's a huge connection because it's something I've been fascinated with being a paranormal researcher over these years is these kind of Skinwalker Ranch phenomenon, psychokinetic phenomenon, cryptid phenomenon, all in a central location. And one of the interesting things I found about Skinwalker Ranch is comparison between how it started for that family there at Skinwalker Ranch and how it started for an old, very ancient, or not ancient, very old case in American lore is the Bell Witch.
Yeah.
If you've heard of it. For the Bell Witch, it started with a father and son out in the field and a beast appearing. This is before all the stuff went crazy at the Bell Witch farm. Or it wasn't the Bell Witch farm, whatever, the name of the Bell farm. And then for the father and son at Skinwalker Ranch, it started with a beast in the field, and it went after one of their animals in the pen, big beast. And then all the crazy phenomenon started. And I found that interesting because I have a theory. I encountered something called a shadow person when I was really young. I was like 17, 18, and this thing drove me to the brink. I felt this thing could morph or shape into anything it wanted to if it could. I watched it do it. I watched it appear 5 feet tall to 7 feet tall. I watched it take different shapes. Hat man shape once. Walked right up to me. So I've been fascinated with other entities. People quantify it as demons or whatever, but I feel like there's a parasitic entity out there somewhat that can feed off of fear. I think there's other entities that feed off of our energy or react or mirror our energy. In a sense, they are going to present themselves by our own perceptions, maybe. And again, you go to Native American traditions of skinwalkers that they talk about in the Skinwalker Ranch series, that they were shapeshifters. So I find a lot of this, the experiences that are talked about in your film, really along these lines is something that is able to morph and shape and shift its form, an energy, a life form we don't understand yet, that can do, and maybe different variations of this life form, what we're encountering at Skinwalker, what the Bell family encountered in the late 1800s, that these are different entities that, that interact with us in different ways, but they all have the same kind of phenomenon attached to them.
Yeah, and the question is, what do they want from us? I think these things surround us. I think that, when you go out into the woods or regardless of where you're at, there are spirits around you. Human beings only have the capacity to see 1% of the visual light spectrum, or of the light spectrum, I should say. 1%. Right. Other animals can see far more things than humans can. And we've all had that cat or dog that kind of stops and is staring at something and watching something, and we're going, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But, those could be any number of phenomena that just don't choose to interact with us at that moment. So the question is what do these Bigfoot want from us? What do the ghosts want from us? The aliens, it sounds like they want fluids. I'll leave it at that. But it's just such a mystery that we're just not mature enough as a humanity to understand yet. I don't think we're supposed to yet.
I love the part you put in there about, I think it was about the conquistadors coming to the Mayans. And how the people didn't see the ships out in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
We've heard the story. They didn't see the ships out in the ocean because it was beyond their perception of the reality they lived in. But the shamans could see them, and once the shamans pointed out to the people, they could see them. That their perception was so they had no idea of the concept of a ship in the water. They couldn't see it.
Yeah, and that's just so true with those of us who are going through the daily motions in society. There could be many things that we see, and the brain justifies it. And we get into this in the first film. We actually interview a psychiatrist, Dr. Michael Adams, who talks about how, in order to avoid trauma, the brain will rationalize certain things. And he talks about how there's a substantive group about that. Yeah, you compartmentalize it to be safe because. Those folks out there that we interviewed for the first film and for the second film have had experiences that are so difficult and so traumatic to deal with that it sends them on this completely different life course. And I think many of your viewers are watching your show and tune into your show because they have had these things happen to them that they can't explain. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot. It could be UFOs or ghosts or anything.
For me, it was a green floating head when I was 4 or 5 years old. I saw with my cousin. And for him, he wrote it off as a nightmare until I remind him of it years later, and he got really white. But I always remembered it, and at a very young age, just in my mind at that moment, I think I learned that everything adults have been telling me they're full of. There's so much more to reality. So when I saw Slimer on Ghostbusters, because I'm 45, I'm an 80s kid. I saw Slimer and Ghostbusters. I was obsessed with it because I'd seen that. I'd seen a green floating witch lake lady head screaming around me. It's imprinted in my brain. Right there. I was already conditioned to the fact that reality is way more than what I'm being told by my fellow adults around me.
Yeah, and I believe that kids can see that kind of stuff because I do believe in reincarnation for a lot of folks, and I think that you come from that time period. There's an amazing amount of evidence suggests reincarnation is real, but you kind of come back from that purgatory experience. I don't even know what you would call it, and I think that you still have senses. You still have some of those senses. It's kind of common knowledge that you lose certain frequencies of hearing as you grow older. There's like advertisements that they'll broadcast to children that adults can't hear. That's just something they do. But yeah, I think a lot of us saw things when we were 2-3 years old, but our brain wasn't formed enough to remember them. And a lot of us have those kind of fleeting memories of some of those different things. I know I do, and my wife does, and a lot of us do.
Yeah, I've had weird experiences all my life, and you talk about it in this film too. That there's certain people that have multiple Bigfoot experiences because of the energy maybe they have. The Bigfoot recognizes it. I think that's a big probability in this case. I think a lot of our clues to the Bigfoot, and I love that you include the Native American in this. Is the Native American traditions and what they've talked about Bigfoot. And then you go across to other cultures, wild man, in Europe, green man, there's so many different pieces of evidence of something in the woods, a forest man, even Merlin. If you look at Merlin, the ancient really writings of who Merlin was, he was a wild forest man, that there's something in the woods with intelligence and magical powers. If you look at the Native Americans, you look at the Tibetans, you look at the European folklore, the Chinese, all these different cultures have some kind of human-like entity with fur on it or whatever that has magical abilities.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into this too much right now, but I can tell you here now that there are Native American medicine men who have magical abilities. They do have abilities. They're able to do things that defy our current knowledge of physics. We're starting to learn some of these things with quantum physics, like we talk about in the documentary. But they're out there. They're not going to share their secrets. But I can guarantee that there are human beings that are able to do these things.
Well, when I was in my early 20s, I read Carlos Castaneda's Don Juan. So I became fascinated with that whole realm of Native American magic and lore and all that, because that book has just changed my life. It's so good. But I think we hear the stories that there's Native Americans out there now, these medicine men that are in contact with Bigfoot. That like the gentleman you had on your documentary, and I find that that they're reaching. There are certain people that have this relationship right now as we're talking. They have a one-on-one relationship with Bigfoot out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've just talked to somebody just the other day that wasn't in the film that has a relationship, and they all say the same things. And a lot of these people don't know each other. And I've talked to people who are private that don't want to go on camera. It's just like, this is between me and them. I don't need fame. I don't need fortune. I don't need YouTube hits. I want to protect the
relationship.
I want to protect the relationship. Arla Williams is a video that we posted, an interview that we posted on our YouTube page today, who she's featured in our film Paranormal Bigfoot, and she's had interactions with Bigfoot since she was 4 or 5 years old. They're literally right.
Is this the lady that takes the police officer, former retired police officer, out in the forest? Yeah, she was really interesting.
Yeah, Arla is very interesting. I encourage people to check out our YouTube page, A Flash of Beauty, and watch her interview, because what she has to say is really enlightening about how all of this stuff works, and really, these things are attracted to the good Bigfoot are attracted to those of us who have pure intentions and have a good heart. And we
You
talk
opened
about
up a
that in
door
our
there.
film. Yeah.
You
I
said the
know.
good Bigfoot. The good Bigfoot. All right, so I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna bring this up to you. So, there a couple over the last this year, we've covered a story, and this is definitely one of those probably stories. But a gentleman went out to the woods, and I said this would make a great horror film. But him and his buddy went out the woods, and somehow he got convinced, and like I said, that his friend brought him out to the woods to sacrifice him to Bigfoot. And he ended up stabbing or killing his friend out in those woods because and this is his story, his defense in court and all, is that his friend brought him out there to sacrifice him to Bigfoot. Wow. Now, like I said, that is the most likely culprit in this case, but it is an interesting scenario because there are Native American tribes that did not paint them in great light. Mm-hmm. That killed Bigfoot. They went to war with Bigfoot, or what they would describe as what we would perceive as Bigfoot. Creatures that they describe as taking children or cannibalistic. So there's a positive light Native Americans in their traditions have put on Bigfoot, and there's definitely a relationship there. But there are some tribes that encountered something maybe different or negative.
Yeah, I tell people that Bigfoot is they're just like people. They're just like people. And, there are, what we've been told is the Bigfoot are a little bit different than people, where people tend to be a little bit more mixed. Bigfoot kind of share a hive mind. They almost share a consciousness is what we've been told. But, we have our Hitlers, we have our Stalins, we have our serial killers, we have, human beings are the most dangerous animal on the planet Earth by far.
100%.
I think mosquitoes are the next. But anyways, Bigfoot can be as evil as you can possibly imagine, and they can be as good as you can possibly imagine. And there are stories. There's a famous story about a child in North Carolina who went missing about, 5 or 6 years ago on a cold night. He was gone for 3 days or so. And they asked the kid, they were like, well, how did you survive? And he said, a bear protected.
Yeah.
And there's no way. Bears are thinking about
his description of what it did was not what a bear would do.
No. And then I just heard a story today about a kid who fell down an embankment of snow near Mount St. Helens.
Really?
And his parents lost track of him. And the next thing they know, as they were looking for him, they went around the road and he's sitting right in the middle of the road. And he remembers floating up by a female Sasquatch. You know what I mean? These stories are plentiful out there of Sasquatch saving people. There's a woman in Yakima who tells us a very similar story as a child, and this particular Bigfoot put medicine on her to help with a massive amount of bee stings. She had fallen off a horse into a hornet's nest and was knocked unconscious. And the doctor, when she came into the doctor's office, the doctor said, well, who put all this medicine, this herbal medicine on you? They absolutely knew what they were doing. And she said, I don't know. This is the way I woke up. This is the way my grandpa found me. So these stories are absolutely incredible. I know many people who've talked about being healed. I've heard extraordinary stories about being healed by them. So these are the Bigfoots, obviously, that we're interested in, but we can't sugarcoat it. There's no reports of anybody being like brutally attacked. But
we don't hear about it because they don't make it out.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, there are people that go missing in the wilderness. David.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, people are interested in that. David Pilates started out as a Bigfoot researcher. Not a lot of people know that, and he was a very, very good Bigfoot researcher. So there could be a correlation.
He's never been willing to tie Bigfoot to the missing people. Like he doesn't want to jump to that conclusion. I get it. I respect him very much. But a lot of people, that is the speculation with some of these, is it Bigfoot taking him? 'Cause, I mean, I can think of a couple of the stories from 411 that definitely make you feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah, and we have a story in our first film that's from a letter from a missionary that came out west. and he's writing a friend. Elkanah Walker is the name of the missionary. People can look up this letter. He's writing to his pastor friend in Maine or somewhere in New England, and he's basically describing the modern day Bigfoot account. He talks about how the native people have this myth that these things come, these nocturnal beings come and steal them. And when the people wake up, they're in this unknown land and they're completely disoriented. They have no idea where they are. And we also have another account of that. Gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. It's a famous story, but he went missing in British Columbia, and they like took him up to their caves, and he saw a family system.
He was searching for gold, and I can't think of his name right now. It's a very famous story.
Yeah,
and that is a very interesting story. Like how they took him. He got away. The best part of that is he got away by giving them his chewing tobacco.
Yeah,
and he got sick. He got sick, and he got away. But he stuck by that all the way to his deathbed.
Albert Ostman, I think, is his name.
Yes, that's the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating story.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. There's these different interactions, and again, how many of these interactions over the years, these classic tales we have, are missing pieces because people didn't want to include mind speak or other things that you're covering in this documentary that you wonder were left out of these experiences because people are like, it's already a hard enough pill for people to swallow that I encountered this creature in the woods. I can't tell them about this thing, turning into a ball of light and zipping away. Yeah,
I mean, it kind of like freaks me out to think about all the stories that have been lost to time. It like a couple of years ago, our furnace went out in the middle of winter, and the repair guy comes over, and he's like poking at the thermostat, and he's looking around our house, and he's like, "You guys have a lot of Bigfoot stuff." We're like, "Yeah, we do these Bigfoot films," and he goes, "So my grandfather was a local sheriff for like 20 years, and he went up hunting, and I'm in Oregon, I'm near Portland, and there's the Coast Range. It's not very high, it's like 2,500 feet. And he goes, he's out hunting in the Coast Range in the 1950s, and he sees a Sasquatch, he sees a Bigfoot, and he leaves everything there. He leaves his prize shotgun, he leaves his camping chairs, everything. He gets in his truck and he takes off, and he tells his grandson this story, and he says, this is the only time I'm ever going to talk to you about it. Don't ever ask me again.
Yeah, these guys go to their deathbed with these stories they might not tell anyone ever. That is a sad thought.
Yeah, it's hard for people to talk about it. They don't, and thankfully that climate is changing. I mean, people are able to talk about, mental anguish that they've been through, anxiety, depression, that kind of a thing. We're opening up as a society, which is awesome, because we're all dealing with this kind of stuff at some point in our lives. And I think when people can come out, and we've definitely found this with the people that we've interviewed, when they can, talk through this experience and share it with others, it's therapeutic. They feel so much better. They get it off their chest. It's not something they're hiding from anymore. Especially when they can go to a convention or they can go someplace where they're in a safe space and they can say, "Oh my gosh, I'm surrounded by people who are just like me. I'm not crazy."
That's why our chat is so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've had people come up to me in tears after watching the film going, "You have no idea. I've never talked to anybody. My best friend dragged me here. I can't believe that there's people like me out there."
I mean, you get it. Like the last story you kind of cover in the film is about the guy and his work partner that saw the Bigfoot change into the orb and zip away. He talks about it being burned. He couldn't get the images of it out of his mind for weeks because it's a paradigm shift. It changed his perception of reality. These things can majorly mess people up psychologically once they've experienced something like this.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, we shot that interview with Harold and Cody in August of 2022, and I've checked in with Harold occasionally, and I've seen Cody as well. And the first thing that Harold said to me, I probably talked to him about 3 months ago. Harold says, "I think about that every day, Brett. I still think about it."
Oh yeah.
And he had to go get it painted.
I love that.
Yeah, which I thought was super cool. I love because I'm an artist. I love the artist.
When you do it, you also artistically, in a way, in the film, you recreate it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like a little digital kind of CGI thing you do of it, that I find interesting. I've been fascinated with the orbs. I've had a guest on, Lyndon and Chad Dillard, who were abducted by aliens, but the aliens flew in a orb ship. It was a big ball, blue orb, glowing ball. And I when I was a teenager and that I was into writing fiction, and my fantasy brain wrote a lot of stuff about these living entities that were just orbs. So it's like, I don't know if I was tapping into something. Now, the years later, I've been doing a paranormal show, and I've heard so many stories relating to these balls of energy. We had Dr. Simeon Hine on, it's in your film, just a couple weeks ago, talking about coherent matter and, ball lightning, and this phenomenon of seeing Bigfoot change. Not, like when you had the guest, you show in the preview of the trailer, talking about the shape-shifting into a deer, for when it could shape, and this deer was like scoping them out. Big white deer, but he saw it change into it. I mean, that these scenes can take on, or the guys at the end of your film seeing it turn into a ball of energy and take off, is that this is right down the alley of why everybody asks why we never had a body.
Yep.
Because I don't think these scenes are in the same dimension as us. That would explain a lot.
They have the keys to different dimensions. I mean, which science is definitely saying that there are these multiverses. Obviously that's the latest trend in like Marvel movies and stuff like that. But
it's great for making a bunch of sequels after you kill off a character. Oh, here this is his alternate reality version.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently they are there, and they're infinite. And major scientists are talking about this stuff. The research is ongoing right now to try and prove that these things are there. But right now the physics is saying that they are there. So. And I know people, I've talked to people that have literally watched portals open and they've watched things climb in and out. There's other people that have encountered these shiny things in the forest, and they've put their hands in them and their hands disappear. So these are actual functioning parts of nature. Are some of them naturally occurring because of different energies, or are some of them controlled?
And how are they influenced by our energy and our perceptions?
I always think a little of both.
Right, an influx of both. Our perception, our reality, our energy intermixing with another reality or energy. Who knows what's going on these deep forest energies out there? I mean, there's so much about our physics that we don't understand. That's why I loved having. The second time we've had Dr. Simeon Hine on. He wrote Dark Matter Monsters. This guy is totally Black Swan Ghosts. This guy's totally down this line of theory that I'm a big fan of. My fictional stuff I wrote had to do with multiverse and a kid traveling in a ball of energy like that, that could travel between parallel realities. So it's something I've been fascinated with, this concept, and that Bigfoot could play into this. I mean, think about this. You had Daryl that Tobe worked with in the film, and Daryl was getting objects left at his home, even medicine, like one was for respiratory or something like that. He left them medicine, that these things are intelligent or whatever, but they were able to slip in and out, bring objects. These objects, like the greatest one was that like thermos. I remember that my grandparents had that thermos, really old 1950s, 60s thermos. And it's not in pristine condition, but it's pretty red. It's pretty good condition. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be sitting out in the forest like that, but it's just left there.
It's just left there as if to say, hey,
like an A-port.
We care. Yeah, it's totally like an airport. And at some point in the film, Tobe says, he says, where are they getting all this stuff from? Like a Bigfoot Goodwill?
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. Stuff that looks like stuff that was lost.
Right, but you know what it reminded me of? Have you ever seen The Skull Project, that documentary?
I
highly recommend you see this, especially if you're going to make any more films about Bigfoot and the paranormal. This isn't about Bigfoot. But the Skull Project involved several different mediums who would get together twice a week on a ritual basis in the dark and would conjure the spirits, in a sense. They're all trans mediums. And they had all kinds of phenomenon happening, and they had scientists come and witness this. It always had to be in the dark. Of course, skeptics are going to argue with that. But they got more powerful as good. And what it would do is it start dropping A-port objects, newspapers, things that like came out of people's pockets from the 1930s that are fresh now, like it was just drop. You remember Poltergeist? Remember when in the movie Poltergeist, when it drops all the stuff and it's just like that.
Wow.
And that's what I thought of when I saw Daryl's experience with Bigfoot. He's pulling out all this stuff, it's probably people's stuff. They ganked out, campers in the woods. Maybe they took from many, many years ago. But it reminded me of that.
We actually heard a story, but there was a father and son that were camping, and in Oregon, and they had a conversation in the tent about basketball season coming up. You know, his son was, I think, in middle school, and his dad was saying, "Well, we got to get you shoes. You know, what size are you now?" And the kid's like size 10, whatever. And you know, the dad's like, "Well, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm going to do what I can." And like the next weekend or something, or a couple of weeks later, they were up in that same spot, just kind of hiking. And there, you know, and the kid like sits down a log or something like that, and then all of a sudden he comes across a pair of mossy Converse All-Star size 10, his same size.
But like
Just
they were
like
been
that.
out in the woods for a while.
Yeah.
But that's
like
crazy.
some kid left him outside of his farmhouse or something like that, and Bigfoot snatched him.
Let me go to the Bigfoot Goodwill and see what we got there for you, kiddo. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh my
I mean, this
God.
happens so often. It's really, really strange.
I mean, and it shows like a cognitive awareness. They understand English, you know, or you know,
Mhm.
I mean, we can talk. People have said they, you know, there's a language and a speak. You've had Ron Moorhead on, you know, Sierra Sounds. You know, that's classic Bigfoot researcher. He's in your film.
Yeah.
His credit probably captured Bigfoot language spoken on audio. You know, I think one of the closest people have got the best sounds. We've listened to him on the show. I'd love to have him on.
That's our next film, Jason. We're already
Really?
working on it. Yeah.
I'd love to get you guys on when that comes out. Please stay in contact with me because I'd love to get you on. Ron Moorhead, if you can get him, I'd love to talk to him
course.
too.
Of course.
And Toby, I'd love to. I love Toby in that movie, in your movie with Daryl and that experience. I'd love to hear more deep down about what was going on there. Because that guy was getting this whole connection of these objects being left, like communication. And you talk about this somewhat in the film. People, you know, communicate with these things in ways like that too, with objects being left, them leaving them stuff too.
Yeah, and you know, this kind of started once they brought physical evidence.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
Their living area or their
It was his,
realm
like
behind these
his
walls.
garage or whatever. He brought the. It was
Mhm.
knees
Knee
that were
break.
indented in the ground. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stunning,
Well-
stunning physical evidence. I saw somebody
Yeah.
on the chat was like, talk about the physical evidence. Well, that's
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
true.
when people
The
see
hair.
that, it's stunning, and they're pulling hairs out of this. And you know, I've been there. I've inspected the bank. I've looked at it, and Tobe is exactly right. He kind of lays it out in the film. He talks about how, you know, it was probably a Bigfoot that was stalking some elk up on this bank, and it was down on its knees, getting ready to pounce. You know, these things have so much strength in their legs and their thighs that Bigfoot could very easily have popped up that embankment and grabbed the elk or the deer by the neck and snapped it instantly. And he's got
So he's
dinner.
not like he's not a vegetarian like Henry and the Hendersons.
I don't think so. Some might be.
I love that in Henry and the Hendersons. He's like giving the guilty look for all the stuffed animals he's got up from his
Yeah.
hunting, you know, like burying them in the backyard. That's what I grew up on was Henry and Hendersons. I believe he's like this, you know, nice cuddly creature in words, but you do hear, and it does. I had one person, I can't remember the guest. It was wrote a book on Bigfoot. It was really about tracing the Bigfoot sightings to the migrant patterns of like rabbit and other game that they might be
Mhm.
following. That you could kind of find out where they're being sighted by the game that they're following, you know, that they have to have this food source. And I always thought, well, you know, you get older, you think vegetarian, that's really hard to sustain 1,000-pound body.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
on a vegetarian diet out in the woods, that meat probably would be the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Every once in a while, they'll do like a story about like an NFL player or an NBA player and what their diet is. You know, like the guy goes to like McDonald's and gets like 5 quarter pounders and 4 orders.
Oh,
of-
don't eat that processed crap.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like just to give people an idea. I mean, you know, these
Yeah.
people have to eat a tremendous amount of food, you know, in
Protein.
order to sustain this body, this athletic body.
Yeah.
And here you have
But it's-
Sasquatch that's twice as big.
Not beyond that doesn't get into the paranormal aspect, more of the cryptid aspect of the
Mhm.
of Bigfoot. But it is true, if these things are meat eaters, you could, as a hunter, track them by the food source. You know, find out. You know, but if these things are woohoo, you know, slipping in dimensions, I don't think that's going to work. You know.
No, it's not. And the thing is people go, well, you know, I believe they're flesh and blood. And other people say, well, I believe they're woo. And I want to clarify and say that they're flesh and blood. Like We are. They're biological creatures, like Dr. Simeon Hunt talks about, that are capable and able to do things that we quite don't understand. They're able to manipulate physics and do stuff,
because
that seem like
maybe
magic.
because they are, we've shut ourselves off from that realm, that
Mhm.
ability. It's one of the things that people are asking about the DNA. Okay, so we've had other guests on, we've covered this before. You guys got hair samples. What was the test? Came back inconclusive. They couldn't
Yeah.
identify it. The
Yeah.
reason being is you take a hair sample, and this is proven by the 1970s FBI investigation that got released through the Freedom of Information Act when the FBI tested hair samples. It came back inconclusive. They could not identify the hair sample to any known creature. They don't have Bigfoot as a reference.
Exactly.
So your answer is, when it comes back inconclusive, is that you probably have a Bigfoot hair.
Yeah, yeah. And so, some DNA studies that are controversial, they're all controversial, say that there is an earthly human mother
Right.
whose DNA originates 10,000 years ago to the Middle East. And that's where you start getting into these murky waters of, are Bigfoot or a Sasquatch biblical? Are they the Nephilim? Is this
Right,
why
the
they're able to
giants.
do these things? Yeah, they're the giants. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I waver back and forth.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm really big into the Sumerian and the ancient aliens theory, and there's of course, the classic Gilgamesh story that a lot of people
Yeah.
refer to when it comes to Bigfoot. But there's also, what do they call them? The Sumerians had a form of creature that the Anunnaki created that sounds similar to the Bigfoot, could have been, that worked in the mines.
Mm.
Maybe they were genetic alterations or created, but whatever they are, they could be us at a different potential that they're able to tap in. Because look, we have people now. There are people that have done incredible things.
Yeah.
People that have done psychic activity, manifestations, aports. You get into the religious. That's what Jesus was doing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You get into the religious aspect. They could be the human potential. They are at peace and one with their soul or their spirit, and they're at a highly evolved, that they're able to tap into this consciousness, this force. I'm a Star Wars fan, that allows them to manipulate reality that we could tap into possibly, and maybe that's why people like Merlin and ancient, was a Bigfoot, or shamans learned from Bigfoot, because they was teaching them how to access these alternate realities and teaching them medicines and teaching all this knowledge that the Bigfoot has, because they're in a way like they are the green man, they are the wise man of the woods.
Yeah, well, Jesus says in the Bible, he says, everything I can do, you can do as well. And it also says that you can move mountains with your mind. It's right there.
Right,
It's
that's
right
what I'm
there.
saying.
But people, are like, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Maybe that's open to interpretation, blah, 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 blah. But it's right there in black and white, And humans have demonstrated this. I mean, humans have biolocated. I've heard many stories of
Uri Geller.
Natives.
Uri
Yeah, Uri Geller. I mean, you're manipulating metals with your mind. You're doing, telepathies. I mean, you talk about a mother's instincts. I mean, all of us have got a story of a family member that had seen another family member as in the form of a ghost, but they weren't transparent, but they were dead, or they knew that person had
I
died.
saw my grandmother right in a
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I talked to my unborn sister. I mean, I've had all those experiences. That's why I'm
Yeah.
in this field. And so many. It's my favorite experience people share with me doing this show. People will be like, "Oh, you're in the paranormal." Well, I had this experience. The most common one I get is a family member who's deceased that comes through to
Mhm.
somebody, and
Yeah.
it's life altering for them. But they don't talk about it often because one, it's deeply personal, and two, it's people are going to think they're crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these are all the same types of things that people are experiencing in the realm of the paranormal Bigfoot. They're using the same type of science or quantum physics or whatever.
What I find interesting, I get the Native American in it talking about science can't grasp this where it's at, but there are some clues, I swear, that in comparison to paranormal activities like psychokinetic activities, I've had one of my favorite guests I've had is Dr. Barry Taff. He did the entity case.
Mhm.
He also did the what's it called? They did a documentary on it where it was in California, and they had light phenomenon, these little light balls that would fly in and out of people's heads, blood coming down the walls. I mean, Barry Taft's investigated some of the hardcore psychokinetic activities.
Yeah.
And he's very much along the same line of Dr. Simeon Hine, really into this coherent, I don't know if he gets into coherent matter, but it's along those same lines, that there's a form of energy interacting with us. And that we're interacting with it, and it can cause these psychokinetic events. What I find interesting is when Bigfoot a lot of times reported as having a sulfuric smell or this really rotten egg smell. Well, if you get into a demonic case or psychokinetic activity or paranormal cases, what do you get? A lot of times you get this smell of rotten eggs and sulfur. Again, Bigfoot, there's the tapping or rapping people hear on trees. Well, or like a door slamming or something, or big bang sound in the woods before the Bigfoot shows up, or there's this activity, this sound. Well, that happens in paranormal cases. You'll get a popping sound or a bang sound, and then activity pops up, and people think it's like a portal or a doorway. It could be the same for the Bigfoot. There's these little similarities in activity in a paranormal case.
Before you see the orb go by, there'll be that little snap.
But that's what I'm saying. There's these similarities, even in alien abduction cases, too. There's some similarities. I mean, alien abductees don't like to talk about the fact that they have psychokinetic and paranormal activity in their homes after abductions and stuff. That there's all these similar themes. Like I said, the smell of sulfur and the popping and banging sounds. I mean, it could be them knocking on trees, but I think there's some evidence there's like a pop sound or a bang sound that these people hear before they have a sighting, too.
Yeah, and I think I actually don't think that they really bang on trees or would knock on trees. I think that that's exactly what it is. I think, it's pretty common knowledge that thunder is created by the superheating of the air by lightning, and that temperature differential is causing thunder. So I think that if you were to have that amount of energy, it's similar to what Dr. Simeon Hine talks about. If, in a blink of an eye, if you have that kind of an energy, you're going to get some sort of
sound from it.
Sound void. Yeah, filling in. I think that's exactly what it is.
It's physics that we know of, and I mean, as an investigator, I've documented and seen temperature drops that are unexplainable, and if you have something manifesting, imagine if it's having a severe temperature drop, it's, the pressure and that is going to make some kind of sound.
Yeah, there's no question about it, because you are going to be manipulating those molecules with a massive amount of energy that's contained.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to one thing too. I mean, you got the film. You have like I said, if any reason for you to rent this documentary is just to see the camouflaged. I'm a huge Predator fan, by the way, but the camouflaged Bigfoot in the woods, it totally looks like Predator. But I've heard people experiences who tried to film Bigfoot that have these contact, and Bigfoot says no, like it understands filming by humans. It understands it has to keep itself secret. It seems to be some of the experiences I'm seeing here. But at some points we do get them on film, like the Patson Giblin film. What's your theory on at those times we are getting this on film? Is it letting us do that on purpose?
I've been told that they do. I've been told that that's why it happens. And sometimes they're caught off guard. Tara Harris, who's in our film, she's blonde. She has a psychic. We had some strange things happen with Tara on camera, but Tara talks about. She doesn't talk about it in the film, but she talked to us about how the Patterson Gimlin film was an instance where Patty didn't care. She didn't care about being filmed, which to me is odd, because it seems like there's a common agreement between all Sasquatch people that they are not to be taken photos of.
Maybe this was rebellious Bigfoot
too. Yeah,
right.
What's that?
Maybe it was rebellious Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's like she was a rebellious Bigfoot. And then some people say, well, that just shows that it's fake. But no, I think
I've watched that film. I don't know about you. I have it in my beginning intro. I'm a huge fan of the Patterson Gimlin film. I wish I could have interviewed them. To me, I'm a big fan of it. I've seen the HD resolution, the slowdown and steadiness. To me, just 1960s, them faking it like that, I just don't see it. I don't see that as possible.
There's no way. I've met Bob Gimlin a bunch of times, and the guy's like a regular old cowboy, like Roy Rogers, man. He's so earnest. He's so nice. He's unassuming. He's just a cowboy living in Yakima, Washington, minding his own business.
Hey, he didn't come out for a long time and talk about it for either. Not like he got a lot of great, it helped him or anything in life.
No, because it was just too much for people to understand and or believe, so it was fake. You know what I mean? Just like the flat earthers out there. It's like they can't conceptualize the idea of scale of the earth, and so therefore it's flat. But there's
Nobody
no
trusts
motivation
anything
there.
anymore. I mean, we could get a clear video footage right now of Bigfoot. Somebody out in the woods, and Bigfoot Patty comes back for round 2.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to believe it.
No.
In today's age, for sure. Worse than it was for Gimblin and them back then. It's worse now because of CGI and the preponderance of people who want to make a buck or views or whatever. So there's a lot of doubt, healthy doubt out there for a good reason. And that's sad because I do think we will get, I don't know if we're showing it as a society yet. We feel pretty screwed up. But if we change the society, get more down to earth and more spiritual, I think we'll get better contact with these things. And maybe one will decide, hey, I'm going to make official contact and let you film me, Will we believe it when we see it? I don't know, will be the question.
Yeah, there needs to be a massive psychological sea change in order for that to happen. Because I think now with AI and stuff like that, I think we're beyond the point right now where you're going to ever convince anybody
with film
that what we're seeing is real or fake. And AI is getting infinitely better every other month. It just keeps getting better and better and better. It's unbelievable, the stuff that's out there. So, I mean, how are you ever going to convince anybody through video or photo?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we will. I don't think we will. The only way, there's the horrible idea of somebody shooting one of these things, which I don't think will happen. We've had the stories we talked about on the show, people shooting this thing, shooting at it, and it flashing, disappearing.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I have my doubts of anybody actually being able to shoot one of these, nor do I want anybody to do it to prove it. But it might come down to one of these Bigfoot communities just finally revealing themselves. If that would ever be the case, I don't know. But I think human society, they must be aware of how bad we can be. And that's why they've kept themselves, smartly so, a secret. And an agreement probably telepathically with each other. Let's not go on film. Let's not do it. Let's not prove ourselves because it can be very dangerous for us. And then plenty of history to back that up.
Yeah, and here's the deal, Jason, that a lot of people don't talk about. In fact, I don't hear anybody talking about this. Is that, a lot of these Sasquatch are purported to live a couple hundred years. And that makes sense to me. I mean, we have animals that live over 400 or 500 years. Greenland shark is an example of that. There's a Greenland shark off the coast of Iceland right now that has been around longer than the United States of America.
Look at the Bible.
Yeah, or look at the Bible. So biologically speaking, we have proof of that. So I think this Sasquatch could live a few hundred years. Now, if you think about it, the Sasquatch observing the settlers and white men and how they just kind of ripped across the Western United States, massacring anybody and everybody they didn't like on their way, the Sasquatch are going, nope, we're not going to let that happen to us. We need to hide.
Well, there's even Indian tribes in their history that said they destroyed whole Sasquatch tribes.
Yeah.
So before even white settlers got here, there was already bad mojo between some humans and Bigfoot.
So I believe that many of them observed it. I've actually been told that by the natives. There are many tribes that have interacted with them, that continue to interact with them. But, 100 years ago, they were trading with them actively. They were trading beads. They were trading salmon. They were doing things to appease them, to keep them out of their camps, so on and so forth. Trading them for peace, in other words. But they didn't have a bad relationship with them. They were just a different tribe and a different type of being. They were like the weird neighbors. And now they're even more hidden because they know what we're capable of. They see us destroying their environment, tearing down trees. It's getting hotter, it's getting weirder. So I don't blame them, actually.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is there going to ever be a time, we hope that there's a human paradigm shift of consciousness and spirituality that'll happen. We talk about it on the show all the time. If that happens, maybe that's our key to developing this relationship with Bigfoot. Well, Brett, I know you have to go, and we got to go to commercial break. It was an honor to have you on the show. Please get in contact with me. You have my email. Let me know when you guys are coming out with the next documentary. I'd love to have you and Toby, and like I said, Ron Moorhead would be a dream. I've always wanted to talk to him. Big fan. I'd love to have you on, show the next trailer for the next movie, and I'm definitely going to rent the first one, and when the new one comes out, I'm going to rent and watch that one right. I cannot recommend this more. I know it's supposed to be a commercial break, but guys, if you are into this field, if you're really into Bigfoot, you have to watch this film. But even if you're not, if you're into this stuff, the woohoo and the paranormal like I am, you have to watch this film because there's so many things that are going to make your imagination and ask you the questions you should about our own reality. And you guys, you did a great service to the Bigfoot community with this film, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to coming back here soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, we're going to go to commercial break. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter show. We'll probably be on for another half hour. Take a few phone calls from you guys tonight. Check in. Anybody who wants to share some paranormal experiences. If you had a Bigfoot experience, please call in tonight. I'd love to hear it from you when we come back after this short commercial break.
Effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, the lines are now open. Our guest tonight was Brett Eichenberger from the film Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. Again, I cannot more highly recommend this. You are into this field. You're into this stuff. You got to rent this film. It's like $3 or $4 on Amazon Prime. It's totally worth watching. It's so just for the camouflage Bigfoot. I want to say out there, big thank you to who we got here. We got Summer Side of Life. Thank you so much for the $20 donation on Super Chat on YouTube. You can donate on Super Chat, Super Stickers on YouTube. Does help pay the bills for the show. Every donation is greatly appreciated. We're also on Patreon. $1 a month, $2 a month does help pay the bills for the show. If you want to donate, thank you to everybody who does. Thank you to everybody who shares out the show. We are doing a shorter show tonight since we only have the guests for an hour. But we are going to open up the phone lines now for you guys to call in. I didn't even play the Rob phone number line, so we'll get the phone numbers out to you here in a second. I forgot to play Rob's little line where the phone numbers are, so you can call in. Let me get the banner up too. 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or on Skype, OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. Those are the ways you can hopefully call in. Sometimes I have some issues. I have my own rigged system here, you know. But the phone lines should be open. Call in if you want to join. We only got about a half hour we're probably going to do if you guys want to join this conversation. But, man, you guys, I wish I could have showed. It's in that preview. They showed just a few seconds of that camouflage Bigfoot in the preview of their film. But, man, it is some incredible footage that they got. Rob, you got to watch this documentary. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it. I clicked on the link, but it says not viewable in my area.
For Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
That's where I rented it no problem today. What does Florida got against it?
Yeah, really.
I don't know. That's weird.
Try it again.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the rental. I've seen a lot of Bigfoot documentaries and some that cover the woohoo like this one does, the paranormal aspect. But they do such a great job because it really gets into people's experiences and the interviews, and they're great.
Yeah, it says the video is currently unavailable to watch in your location.
What the heck, man? Well, I'm in Indiana. I was here. I just watched it this morning. So hopefully that changes. I don't know why they would have that. But yeah, phone lines are open, guys. If you want to call in, we're going to be here just a little bit. I saw a comment, actually, I want to get to. John here. Let me put it up here. So I've heard what now sounds like Bigfoot calls as I've traveled the country camping out most of the time. Most of the time was between 1973 and 1982. I did not know what they were at the time. What I hear of the recordings sound very much like the sounds that I've heard. I'll never forget, big Art Bell fan, listening to Art Bell, and them getting the Sierra Sounds, Ron Moorhead on there, and others with their sounds. And there's a classic one he would always play. The Bigfoot scream is just bone chilling. Yeah. I know he loved every time he played it just to give people the creepies. But imagine hearing those kind of sounds. You're out in the middle of the forest. You know, not. It's like I want to see a UFO. I don't want to see it while I'm on a plane. Well, I want to see a Bigfoot, just not at night in the dark forest and hearing the sounds like that. We didn't even get into the glowing eyes and stuff people have seen.
Yeah,
Sadly, we only had him for the hour, and Toby's out in the field. He didn't get to come on, so we'll definitely have to get those guys back on the show. But
I've been hearing more and more about the glowing eyes.
Yeah, it's
More
a very
people
prominent feature
speak
people
about
have encountered of Bigfoot is the glowing eyes. And it's not just like reflected light from their light source or whatever. It's like they're glowing red eyes. I mean, it's a dogman, too. We didn't get a dogman tonight, you know. And the relationships there are some very similar experiences. The mind speak happens with dogmen just like it does with Bigfoot. Them flashing in and out of existence just like Bigfoot. You know, what's the relationship there? I'd love to know. That could be a good... They could make a whole documentary series on dogmen. I'd love to see those guys do that. Get into that aspect. You know, because there's so many similarities.
I was just swapping cats from the garage back to outside because it's been like 108.
Oh, my
Did
God.
you see you got a super chat?
Yeah, I did. You didn't hear me talking about it. I showed it from Summer
right on.
Wind. Yeah, I did. I shared that at the beginning. Summer Side of Life, thank you so much. It does mean a lot. But, you know, with Bigfoot and the paranormal aspect of it, I'll admit right off the bat, that's my side of things. I think there's a physical aspect to this creature, of course. But there's definitely some way, somehow these creatures have an ability. Maybe it's the ability that all humans have that potential for, is to shapeshift. If you read Don Juan, Carlos Castaneda, you know, in that it's all about the Yaqui Indian sorcerer witch teaching Carlos Castaneda how to shapeshift. You know, I mean, that's the magic they're touching into, and that's the whole legend of the Skinwalkers, that they were people that could shapeshift, or an entity that could shapeshift or change forms. Maybe it can be Bigfoot. Maybe it can be Dogman.
Yeah.
Here's more from John too on that. Oh, I got another one too. So, go to Nate's there first, though. Or Net 2. Sorry, Net 2. We'll go to John. I see. I was a Bigfoot hunting. I'm carrying McDonald's burgers because Harry and the Hendersons and we, due to they have said to follow Native American tribes and travels. If you get to smoke a joint with a Sasquatch, you better call into this show and tell me how that went, because I want to know. Yeah. All right, John here. I remember seeing two glowing red eyes up in the corner near the ceiling when I was about 4 years old. I pulled the covers over my head, and then when I looked again, they were still there, and I ran out screaming to my folks' room. Of course, they said it was a bad dream. Yeah, I believe you, bud, because, I mean, my shadow person experience, at times, there was times when it would present itself to me, and I'd see two glowing red eyes, and the last time I really saw this thing was after I had kicked this thing's, God came and kicked its butt or whatever. I saw it when I was really sick in our first apartment. I was really sick, had the flu, and I felt like this thing tried to come back at me. And it showed me, first, it started as its normal shadow figure, and then it started with these red glowing eyes that then illuminated a reddish, growly-looking, bestial face. And that's when I said, "Get out of my house. You do not belong here." I stood up to it. But that more of my fascination of what these things are, what a shadow person is, or what these entities are, you know, that can change or morph or show me a bestial face like this thing did. Demon. That's what I get from one side of the factor of ideas, and maybe.
I've always kind of thought if they're real, there's some sort of different dimension or paranormal, or there's got to be something there, because, you know, you find a footprint every once in a while, or maybe some hair, but you never find poop or skeletons or
No. I've had the Bigfoot scat on the show. Remember, the guy had the big long thing. It was like that long. He said it was Bigfoot scat.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that last night too. It's like they'll show a couple of prints, But where's the rest? Like, did he take off in a jet?
Did he dematerialize? Okay, so in this film, they have one of the prints they talk about, and the weird stuff started happening, is Toby and Daryl. Toby's the one who was investigating this guy named Daryl. He found these, like, looks like the Bigfoot put its knees into this embankment. And like he's saying, like, well, maybe it was getting ready to pounce on something to kill it. Maybe it was getting ready to teleport, because at the end of this movie, this documentary, they talk about how this Bigfoot, like, knelt down, curled up like this, started glowing orange, and then turned into a ball of energy, into a square of energy, and then phew, shut off. 2 witnesses to that, by the way. 2 people saw that. They confirmed that together. Were driving down the road, stopped their car when they saw this. I mean, that could be it. You know, the reason that you get a print like that is it was kneeling down and it just transformed and shot off into another dimension. I don't know.
I mean, it could be, you know, it could be an alien just here on Earth.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
In disguise.
And it would explain why sometimes it looks like a smeared kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Next to the
But,
print.
you know, it would explain why, you know, for countless decades, researchers have found these tracks that just end.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob, I just cut
Right,
you off.
because they've changed. I mean, Dogman's the same thing. You know, they found tracks they believe were Dogman, but then they end. They disappear, you know. And people have shot at Bigfoot, and it just flashes a light, and it disappears. There's a number of stories like that. You know, that these things could be, like you said, another form of life. It may you call it alien, but it could be a life form that's been here this whole time. You know what I'm saying? That exists at another level, you know, of consciousness. Look at the movie. One of my favorite movies I played in the reel. One of my ad reels is Altered States. And what happens to him in Altered States? He goes in this altered state of consciousness, and he becomes this bestial pre-Cro-Magnon man. As he's going into this altered state, he changes his physical form. It's almost like he's a werewolf. You know, my brain as a little kid was capturing these concepts. There's no way a little kid should have been watching Altered States, but I did.
Yeah.
Really raunchy sex scene in that movie. Don't go show your kids. I have not shown mine. But I watched it as a kid, was completely fascinated. I have these list of 80s movies. Does anybody think I should do a Paranormal Soup movie review, like movies that that touch upon these aspects of the paranormal and the things we talk about? Should I do movie recommendations by Paranormal Soup? You think that'd be interesting to people?
For World UFO Day, they actually put out a list of like some of the best. So I'd be
As long as they didn't put the 5th kind, Gary.
your list compared to theirs.
Or 4th kind, sorry, the 4th kind, or whatever is it? I don't remember the name of that stupid movie.
But yeah,
You know,
if there are another being or from here or from wherever, you know, I mean, it'd be a perfect disguise, because we look at Bigfoot and think, oh, it's a big hairy ape. It's probably not that smart. But if they're teleporting or energy balling, they're obviously way more advanced than us. So it could just all be a disguise for them to look stupid in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To look like just some primal animal. When
you know, the thing I get talking about, you know, always as a Star Wars fan, but they kind of get to, you know, there's so many things in this documentary I loved. One of the things is talking about the guy, the cop who goes out in the woods with the woman. He went out there. I don't want to give the whole documentary away, but there's this retired police officer that wants to have an experience, but he doesn't know if he even believes. Goes out the woods. He meets this lady who's an experiencer since she was 4 or 5 years old, who's been communicating with him. She comes walking out of the woods. She could sense him out there, whatever, and she takes him out to see these Bigfoot, basically. And they come out and they go, "Why did you bring a gun?" Like, they mind speak to him. He's like blown away, you know, and he actually ends up seeing one. You just watch that documentary to see that experience. But it reminds me of Luke. I always talk about this when it comes to the paranormal. Is Luke on Dagobah with Yoda. Sorry if you're not a Star Wars fan, and don't want to be now with Disney Star Wars, but Luke has his gun and his lightsaber, and he goes to this dark side cave that he can feel the dark side, and Yoda tells him, you know, your weapons will not needed there, whatever he says. I'm horrible at the line in it, but the whole point of that is that Luke goes in there, he looks at him like, yeah, right, I'm taking my lightsaber and gun. And what happens? He ends up getting a lightsaber fight with a Darth Vader that ends up being him. That he got what he took in. He expected something negative, and what happens? He gets in a fight. These things reflect back to your own expectations. Now, we got somebody on the phone line I want to get to, because we're doing a shorter show tonight. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason. It's Ariana. How is everybody tonight?
Hey, glad to hear from you. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I think you should do a movie review of Bigfoot, UFO, things like that. You know,
Fictional
That'd
movies
be
that relate to these topics we talk about.
Yeah, that would be interesting. The only question I would have had for your guest, it was way too short. He was very interesting.
I know. I wish we could have had him on longer. It was killing me that he only had an hour tonight and Toby couldn't make it. I'm like, we got to get these guys back on because they're really good at making these.
Yes, definitely. Did he concentrate on everywhere, or did he concentrate on a certain area? Because
a lot of
different parts
Oregon,
of the
he's from Oregon, so there's a lot in that area, I think. But no, it generally covers the whole patagram of Bigfoot across the world.
Okay, because there's a lot of parts in I know the USA that have their different stories about, swamp apes or Bigfoot type
Skunk
creatures.
Ape, Florida, yeah.
Yeah, and they might be connected in some way, So that's
Just
the only.
look at this, Zariana. So even just a couple World Wide Web weirds ago, I talked about a new Cro-Magnon or another ancestor of humans found. That they found another offshoot of human DNA. It's not a human. It's related to human, but they were people or an entity that lived that shares our DNA, but it was another offshoot, genetically different than us. They keep finding these different offshoots of humans. So Bigfoot could come in a number of genetic fashions, very similar to each other, but genetic variations.
Mm-hmm. And also on some of the evidence, like the hair or the fur, or whatever you might call it, in some cases they've related it to maybe not human, but like canine or wolf or different things, not just, we don't have it in our.
I think if they get a hit and it says canine something, they're not sure. That could be a possible animal hair that they found. But there are evidence, like I said, there's a 1970 famous FBI Freedom of Information Act case where it came as related to humans but unknown. Had unknown factors. That one's the one I think is like a ding, you got a Bigfoot hair. It comes up something like that. Like they can't tag it to a human genetics, but there's some relationship there, but it's unknown. It's usually what these assessing comes back.
Well, I'm waiting for my Bigfoot type creature, whatever it is, to come back, because I definitely want to record whatever I can if he,
what has been remind us of your experience with Bigfoot.
Oh, well, they're doing a lot of they've been doing a lot of construction and destruction on the property of where I live, and trees and things like that. And I think last summer there was I used to hear banging and like noises that, it's not a bear, it's not any animal that I could think of,
Yeah.
And and like on the dumpster but not banging on the dumpster, just like opening the top and throwing it down, and very violent type thing, Yeah. But there weren't any other animals that made a sound when this creature, whatever you want to call it, was around, and it was, it was very quiet, Oh
yeah.
And I was, obviously listening and trying to record, whatever I could. It never came out on my phone, but I think it came close to my window, which was absolutely, utterly scary.
Well, yeah.
Only because it was like it wasn't growling, but it was like this heavy breathing, no pun intended, but, and also there was a smell to it.
What was the smell? What was the smell? Could you compare?
I don't know. It wasn't like a skunk. It wasn't like a garbage smell, or a rotting smell, but it was not sweet.
It wasn't pleasant.
Was
it decaying smell, maybe, or?
I've smelled that before, but it could be early signs of that, but it definitely wasn't. I mean, it was, if it was there longer, it would have made me nauseated, but it definitely did have a smell of some type, and and I didn't, like I said, I didn't actually see it. I was definitely scared to actually look, but it was around for a couple of weeks, and every night around the same time. And I don't, like I said, I'm, as scary as it is, maybe it'll be back. I don't know.
Try to open yourself to be, try to do the mind speak. I'm serious. Like, try to talk to it. Try to think to it. Try to give it positive thoughts. Maybe you can make a connection like other people have. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for calling in tonight.
Okay. Thank you, and you too. You too.
You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
I was watching the chat room as I'm talking to her, and they're talking to Natu here, says about the feds confiscated these skulls was from an Indian tribe. And the feds said they returned the skulls to the Lovelock tribe, and I know many on the res, and they say they did not receive any skulls. Big question is, I've heard the stories of the federal government or national parks covering this up, confiscating stuff. To hide the evidence. The quick question is why? What would be the importance? And I'm not just, I think this is happening, but why? Why are they doing? Why have universities covered up the graves of giants throughout since the early 19th century of people discovering these things? Why the cover up? There's definitely a cover up. And over the years, they have some stories that I wish I could take a lie detector test to show others. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't trust the feds here in Canada at all. Not sure. Don't trust the feds here in the USA either. Don't trust the feds, man. No, I don't. And the only reason we have that story from the 1970s is because somebody had to get it from the Freedom of Information Act. When it comes to them, the FBI did investigate a Sasquatch sighting, their own little X-Files, I guess. I don't know. But why investigate it? Why cover it up? Some interest there. Then you have stories like the Kandahar giant out of Afghanistan. A soldier supposedly countered a giant there with 6 fingers, 6 toes, and they shot and killed it. I don't know if that's true. We had L.A. Marzulli, or his name is, on about that. I don't know. And Heather Wade had contact with those soldiers. So that's an interesting story that, these giants could be living around Nephilim or whatever they are. Different versions of the Bigfoot, maybe. I don't know. Had canine incisors that were... I don't know. I just know that these skulls had canine incisors that were nuts. If I did movie reviews, me and my sons have watched a lot of bad Bigfoot movies over the last couple of years. I would love to do some reviews with them. Some of these movies I watch, pull them on here and get their opinions on it. But yeah, good fictional Bigfoot movie though. I mean, I don't know. Of course, we've watched the Disney, like, in a sense, Harry and the Hendersons. There's Rob got back in. But I've watched some Bigfoot horror movies that were just really bad. There's also what was the one? With Sam Nielsen. Or not Sam, or what's his name? The guy with the really deep voice. Prancer. Sam Elliott. Like all of our moms are like, oh, Sam Elliott, that voice. Oh, my God. Like every mom I knew when I was a kid was like, Sam Elliott, oh, my God. Get the vapors. But Sam Elliott did this movie a couple years ago. We did really enjoy it. Basically, he's the guy who killed Hitler.
Yeah.
Now he's been tasked to kill Bigfoot.
just
It's
watched
the
that, like,
it's
last week.
yeah, it's like the creep. You did watch it. Is that the Bigfoot's messed up in that movie?
The man who killed Hitler and then Bigfoot. I was like, what
Yeah.
the hell is this? Yeah,
So I really enjoyed that movie. Did you?
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually really did like. It's as cheesy as it sounds. I mean, Sam Elliott. Come on.
Yeah.
He's God in the Big Lebowski, pretty much. With the dude. I was like, dude. I wish I could do a Sam Elliott, but I don't have that kind of voice. But yeah, there's some movies I've watched a number of really bad Bigfoot horror movies. I could do some reviews on. Do just a movie review on all the all these Bigfoot movies. Need a good Dogman movie. Like, there's a good fictional Dogman movie. A lot of werewolf movies. I don't know. But I'd love to do movie reviews like on the Entity, like classic ones, like the 1970s Entity movie that was based on Barry Taff's case. Since I've had Barry Taff on, I'd love to do that. Poltergeist. I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan. Big. Like, people can see whether they say, whatever conspiracy are out there about Steven Spielberg and personal life. I don't care. As a film person, I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan. Huge. I mean, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Taken series. These are all things I would love to do, talk about, do reviews on. Jaws is, classic movie I've watched I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
His eyes rolled over white. Big Steven Spielberg fan. And I have to admit, and I'm excited to hear he's going to do another Alien movie. This time it's not so friendly aliens. Like he did E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He kind of did this paradigm shift in Hollywood of movies where alien is friendly, while we at the same time had, Ridley Scott's Alien, which wasn't friendly. But he had that kind of that like E.T. home friendly kind of thing, but he wanted to do something more scary too. But he never did, and I guess this new thing is going to be more kind of like scary. I'm interested. I'd love to see that by Spielberg. But, I play a lot of the movies that influenced me over the years as kids in my ad reel, like In Dreams, or not In Dreams, what is it? Dreamscape, Altered States, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You'll hear those TV. They're in there, Alien. You hear those commercials in there for a reason, because those are the things that shaped my childhood imagination so much. When these are I had In Search Of. I'd find old reruns of that, but there wasn't Ancient Aliens. There wasn't hardly any paranormal shows. Sightings was about what I had, as a kid. So Hollywood fiction was where my mind could explore these ideas and think about them.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries was a good one. Unsolved Mysteries wanted to be about crime and all that stuff, but they just started to do these like kind of ghost paranormal things, and the ratings went like so up. They're like, oh yeah, we got to do more of these episodes.
That's what caused a certain sibling of mine to really freak out. She always had these like these type of dreams that scared her, the big eyes, everything. But we knew what
Sounds like an abductee.
We knew what she was exposed to at the time. Nothing, you know what I mean? So all of a sudden that comes on one day. They show it. She went in her room and just.
Oh yeah, she's an abductee.
We don't talk about it. And so 333 comes up, and then like with me and her and my mom, we kind of telepathically have this thing, and she's like freaked out by owls, but something happened to her.
I'm just saying, all that right there. She's an abductee. I hate to tell her. That's what that sounds like.
I had the shadows on my wall, but the thing she described was like terrifying, and she was like seeing it in her closet at night, like in her dreams and everything. And
she sounds like a hardcore abductee that doesn't, wow.
And they showed the typical thing on Unsolved Mysteries, the eyes, and she just.
We had Terry Lovelace on there. That's what got him. He was walking in a bookstore, and Whitley Strieber's Communion had released, and they had it on the book stand with the picture of the alien, and he saw that, and it just brought it all. He literally pushed it all out of his mind. If it wasn't for his wife making him write those journals, we wouldn't have a lot of it. Because he had compartmentalized it, pushed it out of his mind, went on with his normal life, and he saw that Communion book and saw that, and it changed everything. Because that's what the brain can do. Compartment. How many people probably have witnessed Bigfoot out there, and it was so traumatic they can't even concept or remember it now, because it was traumatizing. Those are the questions. How many people out there, and as we get more enlightened in society about it, more talk about it, more accepting, it might be more more people remember these things or have that experience, like, you know, with the alien abduction, that it comes back to them, you know. I don't know. That's it for the show, though. We're going to end it there. I'm going to end it early since we only had the guest for an hour. But Brett Eichenberger, check out Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and there's Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. Should be on Amazon unless you're in Florida. I don't know what the hell that's about. I don't know how they can do that. But I rented it today. It was, I mean, again, I can't recommend this documentary more. You really, or if you're into this, you should see this documentary. It's well worth the watch and the rental. But that's it for the show, guys. We'll be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel. Next week, we're going to have returning guest, James and I have a returning guest, and I'm trying to remember how to say his last name, Sabuski? I'm totally butchering it, James. I'm so sorry. I've had him on before. But we're going to talk about another place where Bigfoot's been sighted and a lot of other weird, strange phenomena, the Columbia River Gorge, where he has his shop there, and he has a lot of experiences. And wanted him to get back on because there's so much more we can talk to him about. So next time, same bad channel, always starting at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, sometimes going all the way to 1 a.m., not tonight. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Thank you to everybody who donates the show. Thank you again to, who was it? Summer, I want to get that. I lost it. Where was it? Summer Side of Life there. Thank you again for your $20 donation. You can donate on Super Chat. You can donate at Patreon. Look for Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland on there. $1 a month, $2 a month. Those help pay the bills for the show and get you exclusive access to our community chat and Patreon. Thank you again, guys. Have a great night. See you next Sunday.